Hi everyone, well welcome back to our channel, and we have another video we're going to take a bash at here for you today. And I've had actually a few people request this one. They would like me to do a video on the classic signs of a twin flame. Let me get what I wrote down here, hang on a second. Yeah, the classic signs you have met your twin flame. Okay, this seems to be really important to a lot of people, especially when they Google it and come up with these signs and symptoms, which I think probably everybody up on YouTube at some point in time has done a video on it. Even I've done a video on it, and I think it's about 7 or 8 years old with some of the signs on it. However, keeping in mind that by my experience, the twin flame challenge, if you will, is continuing to go through a process of evolution where it's constantly changing and evolving. It's never staying the same. And one of the things that I just want to mention before we get into this is I can recall many people saying that you don't need someone else to tell you if it's your twin flame, that you, if you have met your twin flame, should know. However, I would like to add in here that when someone meets or connects with what they perceive to be their twin flame, there are a bunch of circumstances and sequence of events that take place, some of which are: 1, you have a heart center awakening; 2, you activate a Kundalini awakening; 3, your whole life, three-dimensional life, emotional life, and mental life all go into a complete change of personality. The whole world seems as though it's falling apart, and everything seems to be coming up. And I don't believe, based on the experience that I've seen, that anybody in that situation then, or even going ahead, months ahead in the process of connecting with such and such a person, could possibly even know if it's their twin flame based on what's going on with them internally, emotionally, mentally, physically, at a heart center level, and because of the altered states of consciousness and mind that the Kundalini activation would take place. So, having said that, there are a lot of people who have been connected with their twin flame, supposedly, who have come to the conclusion several months or a few years down the road that it was never their twin flame in the first place. So, having said that to you, and based on my experience, what do I feel, based on my experience, are some of the classic signs of twin flames? I'm going to have to put this into two categories. One being the signs of an original set of twin flames. That would be a set of twin flames in the graduate returning type of individuals. And the second category would be the people that are having the twin flame experience, who have connected with it through the collective consciousness, which has been templated there by the original twin flames coming in. So to put it into two categories, and we'll do the originals first. One of the classic symptoms that I have seen in regards to an original set of twin flames, and this has never ceased to surprise me, is 9 times out of 10, they meet when they're children or teenagers. They may have even gotten into a short relationship or even dated, or they just knew each other. And then they may not see each other for a few years, and they may meet again in high school or college, and they may connect briefly again, and then a whole number of years may pass. Both of them may each go their own way, get married to other people, even have children, and periodically, every few years or so, connect with each other by what many would call coincidence, until finally, at some point in time, and I've seen this where it's 20, 30, even 40 years later, they come together. And a lot of people have asked me, well, why is this considered a sign, and why is this happening at all? And I'll just add in a little bit here to give some greater clarity to these people, and they'll know what I'm talking about as soon as I hear what I'm saying here. There is a process that we're well aware of in our society where people pull what I call transference. Transference is where, and I'm sure many of you have had this experience, where you may have a friend, and the friend has a lot of problems, and you go to visit them, or they come to visit you, and after being there for half an hour, 45 minutes, or maybe even longer, suddenly the friend that is having all the problems or the issues feels pretty good, and you feel like shit. Because what's happened is transference has happened. All of the emotional, mental problem, issues, energy of that has been transferred to you through a process called transference. And this takes place through the emotional center of the solar plexus chakra. That same transference, that is at a very primitive level, is far superior to what I call telepathic communication between people and or twin flames. Transference is automatic when you get to the higher vibrations. So what happens with these particular connections with the graduates, as I've mentioned, is periodically what they do is they have these, what they would call coincidental connections, be it for whatever they are. They may not even be together much more than 5 or 10 minutes, or it might be an hour, or it might be circumstances where they basically just see each other in a passing. And suddenly there's that feeling of something passed between the two of them. What happened is all of the knowledge and the experience that they've gained up to that particular point in time on both sides has been transferred to the other, which is far superior to telepathic communication. Telepathic communication is too slow. Transference, once you get into the heart center activation and the higher energy vibration, is automatic. It's a complete download like that in less than a few seconds. It's far superior to telepathic communication. And I might add, it is going to become a classic sign in both of these categories that I'm talking about eventually. It's starting now in the second category of the twin flame connection via the collective consciousness. This is the number one sign, the classic sign. Now this applies to both sides of the fence. Oh, one thing I want to mention here. It's also been my experience that there are some, I'm going to call them graduates, I'm going to call them androgynous beings, who have volunteered to come back in. Remember the word volunteer. They didn't have to come back. They volunteered to come back to be of service to others. All right? Service to others is the big classic sign, and it will be deeply embedded in one or both of the individuals. And I do need to mention here also that in some of the cases of these graduates returning, what happened is they will come back as an androgynous being, and they will choose either the female or the male gender, and sometimes they may be a combination of both. And what would happen is, in a great many cases, and I have met, let me see if I remember correctly here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 male, 3 females who came back as an androgynous being, who are of service to others, who have no interest in a relationship in any form, in any way, in any shape. Their whole purpose in being here is just to be of service to others, and that's there also. Now, I've only met, as I've said, 4 in the number of years that I've been involved with the twin flame community, the spiritual community. And that's only 4 that I've met. I know there must be more than that, but that's just the 4 that I've met. Okay, now, the other thing that I would find here, specifically in regards to what I call the originals, again, I will have to tell you a little story. And this is a classic situation here of a sign for the original twin flames. And it is what I call a chakra lineup. And the chakra lineup takes place through all of the chakra system. But what happens is, as the connection is coming into fruition and they're coming together, all of the lower chakras would be the ones that would be activated and very intense for these 2 individuals. It can happen to 1 individual also. And what would happen is there would be originally, and I have to put it this way because it carries over into the other aspect too, into the collective. Here's the point that I'm trying to make, okay, so we understand something. I don't want people to get confused here. The original twin flames that came in the 3 waves didn't just stop when they set up in the collective consciousness a template for relationships, or a new template for relationships at a higher vibration. They continued on, and they worked through, and still are working through, all of the sexual energy issues and whatever else comes up, and confusion, manipulation, whatever. And they're still working through trauma, as I mentioned, I believe in a previous video I did, ancestral traumas. They're still doing that, working through it. And then as it's completed, piece by piece, it's added to the collective consciousness. The difference being is, the ones that have gone through in the second category, having the twin flame experience from the collective consciousness, do not have to go through as much intense experience as the originals are and have done in the past. All right, now, the other thing that I want to mention is this. This is just from my own experience. When you have reached a certain point, and I don't want to sound like I'm bragging here, but this is going to be hard to say it without looking that way, so just bear with me here, okay? When you've reached a certain point in your own evolution in regards to the twin flame connection, as a set of twin flames, you develop within you a recognizable frequency, signal, emanation, radiation, pulsation, whatever you want to call it, that is consistent. It's not erratic, it's not periodic, it's there consistently. It wouldn't even matter if the person was 95 years old and sitting in a wheelchair and looked like a decrepit old person that looked like they were about to pop off. You would still recognize the frequency, the radiation, the energy of the situation. The body physical is irrelevant to the frequency, the radiation, the pulsation, no matter what the condition. And that's subject to change also going forward, which I may get into in this video, I may not. That is recognizable. So for me, one of the classic signs, and this applies to both the graduate type of twin flame and the twin flames from the collective, that frequency, that pulsation, that radiation is recognizable. How am I going to put this? It takes one to know one. All right. So if you've established a frequency within yourself, then that frequency is recognizable from other people. So in a lot of cases, when someone comes to me and said, well, can you tell me if I'm in a twin flame connection? For me personally, one of the classic signs is this: I recognize their frequency, their vibration, their pulsation by their energy field that they radiate. You either got it or you don't. It's not something you can fake. You can call yourself a twin flame till you're blue in the face if you want to, but I know differently. You can't fool me. I recognize it because it takes one to know one. It's an old, kind of analogy here on the earth. It's like somebody who does drugs. The one thing that someone that does drugs do is they can recognize somebody else walking down the street who does drugs also. It's just, they know, kind of thing. At one point, I used to be able to see, there I go, sorry about the whistle. I used to be able to see people's energy field. Now I don't need to do that. Now I just know. And another of the classic symptoms, besides the pulsation, radiation type of thing, is this. And these signs that I'm giving are going to sound a little different than what other people may be giving up on YouTube, I would suspect, is the voice vibration. All right? When I'm talking to a person, you look, every one of us wears a mask. We put on an identity on the external for other people. There's a few of us that don't do that. What you see is what you get. I'm one of them. I'm no different here than I am if I'm talking to somebody in the house. So what you see is what you get. And it's the same thing in the voice vibration. One of the classic signs on both sides of the fence for the graduates and for those who are experiencing the twin flame connection from the collective is the voice vibration. Now, you can listen to the person and you can sense right through the mask that they're wearing in every case, and you can feel that pulsation, that radiation, that emanation, that signal, that frequency in their voice. You cannot fake it. You either got it or you don't. Now, this also applies to other people also who are evolving and growing. It's called authenticity. Authenticity has a frequency. It has a vibration. The voice is a classic emanator of the frequency of the person. And this is very important. And this is the way that I recognize people also. The other thing that I find to be the classic indication is there is a certain frequency or energetic connection between two individuals who are experiencing the twin flame experience, and it's at the heart center. And the heart center will always have a particular type of frequency. Now, this is going to sound really off the wall here, okay, to some of you. But when I talk to people and they're asking me if they're a twin flame, I listen for it. And somebody say, you're going to tell me you can hear a frequency? Yeah, I can. All right. This wasn't the way it was a few years ago, but I'm continually evolving and growing also, and I can listen for that particular frequency in the heart center. I can sense it, I can feel it. When I sense it, I can feel it, I can hear it with the inner ear, and it's there. However, now I think there's about 3 or 4, and this applies to both categories. Now, the other one that I consider classic is, and this applies to both sides, is the aspect here of personality. And this applies to a lot of people going through the evolutionary process also. But again, it really applies to the twin flame capacity. Contrary to popular belief, not every set of twin flames, if they're a set, who claim to be twin flames are all on the same page. They are based on circumstances, lifestyles, and upbringing, ancestral input at a certain vibration or a certain frequency. That certain frequency or vibration, in some cases, will be as far as they're going to go. And that's okay. Because there are people who are going to go just to that level, and that's based on a soul choice of experience and knowledge coming in, that they're going to disseminate that information for that group of people. It's a volunteer type of situation. And that is recognizable also by the information that they would put out and by the way that they would present. Now, when I say present, what I mean is how they would present themselves to other people. If there is the sense of pretense, or people pick up a sense of fake, or people pick up something's not right, then that is a signal or a frequency that is emanating from the people themselves. And that is there for the distinct purpose of teaching other people what is in balance and what is not in balance and what not to do. In every case here, look at it this way. In order to know what we don't want, we have to be able to see it, sense it, and feel it to know what we do want. And if we have something that doesn't make us feel good, we know what to look for down the road if we get something else that doesn't make us feel good. We avoid it. That's called discernment. And then comes the authenticity part, and this part comes into play of personality development. Personality development is, for me, one of the classic signs. And usually when I'm talking to a person, I put all of these components that I've mentioned in this video together as a package. And I'm looking for all of those pieces. And the personality development, again, that applies to everybody else in the spiritual community who's evolving. But in the twin flame connection, it is of a very high vibration. It's very recognizable. And it's ingrained in the personality, because I'll tell you why. There would be certain personality traits in a set of twin flames or a single twin flame on their own androgynous being that would be unique to the twin flames. That is, in this way, I can see it, I can't put it into words, I don't know how to say it. But I look for it in their personality, in the words that they say. And it's almost as if the only words that I can put into it that really identifies it is that they have this, I don't know if the words describe it right, I'll do my best here. They have this sense of being of service that really their own wants and needs and career endeavors and creative ability development doesn't really matter. They're here for one purpose and one purpose only. And this eliminates quite a few of you. They're here to be of service only to people, and any personal desires of achievements, creative endeavors of their own really run secondary to all of that. That can be detected in their personality. And I can pick it out just by talking to people, even if it never comes up in a conversation. I know. The other thing that twin flames, okay, I'm going to call them twin flames, androgynous beings can do, and this is for me numero uno, the biggie, and it's called jumping in to that particular person. Now, when I say jumping in, I've done a video on this in the past. For complete authenticity of a set of twin flames, be it from both categories, jumping into their energy field at a, let me rephrase this, okay? Jumping into their energy field would be a spontaneous, at a oversoul, higher self level, where that person, in the ultimate openness of connection with you, you would be able to merge and blend and, let me try to put it this way. Okay. I'm talking to somebody on Skype, doing a session, and suddenly this would happen. The two of us would just suddenly feel spontaneously, with no initiation on our own, come together as two energy fields, merge, be there for a few seconds or a little bit longer. There would be an explosion, as it were, of information and dialogue, downloaded or exchanged, and then they would separate and move back into their own physical body. Now, the very first time that this happened, for me, took me by surprise, because obviously it needed to be intense so I could have it recorded. And this is a classic symptom, or a sign, if you will, of a twin flame connection. Now, there are some people, and I've had this happen, who experience it, but it only goes one way. And this happens with me. And I don't want anybody to take this the wrong way, okay? A lot of times when I've been talking to a twin flame or a set of twin flames, what's happened is they're not quite where I am yet in vibration, okay? Don't take it the wrong way. But I can still feel that spontaneous jump in, as it were, the movement of consciousness within them, to experience and share and exchange all of that information. This comes from dedication to service to others before self. You have to have this deeply ingrained in a set of twin flames. Now, on average, with no disrespect intended to the collective twin flame consciousness that's in the average person that's now available, most of these people in the twin flame community are wanting and looking for a relationship, love, compassion, gentleness, and a happy, loving relationship. And that's what this is all about. So some of these things that I'm talking about are not necessary for the people that are in and experiencing the collective twin flame consciousness, because they have only a desire, nothing wrong with that, to be with their twin flame in a bona fide relationship. Because in reality, this is what the whole package is all about. It's about adding to the collective improvement, the betterment of relationships in our society at all levels. You see? So I hope I'm explaining this so that people can, totally understand what's going on. All right. I think I'm going to leave it at that point. I think I've given enough information, kind of thing. And hey, comments are always appreciated. And I hope this kind of helps out the people that have asked me to do this video. And keep in mind, the twin flame community, the twin flame information is continually evolving and growing. Example, case in point. Just one final thing that I want to make. I think about 4 or 5 years ago, I did a video, and the video was entitled, Can You Have More Than One Twin Flame? WTF I had on the end of it, I think. And I remember getting a lot of comments on that video. And a lot of you that will be watching this video today have had that experience. Well, you thought you were with your twin flame, but you actually weren't. The twin flame experience is wide open for change and evolution. And that's where we're going. If you go back and you take a look at the signs and symptoms of a twin flame connection that I did 8 or 9 years ago, it was a front runner at that particular point in time, based on my state and Nicole's state of consciousness. The situation now has evolved. If you listen to this video and go back and compare it with that video, you'll see there's been a huge jump in the evolution of consciousness, and especially in the classic signs of a twin flame union. One more thing I'm going to add, that I wanted to add and I just forgot and I got reminded. For all of you, one of the signs also that needs to be remembered, and this applies to both sides, but tend to be more important to those who are from the experiencing the twin flame from the collective consciousness, is when you went into the bubble love phase, and every one of you did, what you were doing, you experienced twin flame union at the highest level. That was part of the template in the collective consciousness that has been established so that you could have something to see, taste, smell, touch, if you will, that could give you something to shoot for. And the same thing applies when you get to negative stuff, if you will. It gives you what you don't want, so you know what you do want. So when you had that experience of the union in the bubble of phase, that means it's there for you. All you have to do is to keep going along with the process, flowing with it, not fighting it or trying to control it, and it's there for you. It may not be there with the person you originally experienced it, but it will be there. And again, that is a classic sign also that the twin flame experience is there for you. But just remember, it may not be with the person that you originally experienced it with. All right? Okay. Have a great day, everybody. Take care.